Welcome to Busted Speakers. I'm Kush,
And I'm Alex.
and today we're reviewing Narkopop by Gas. So Gas is a ambient techno musician who makes these like great soundscapes, and he's been highly revered in the past. And it's been quite a few years since he put out a new album, and this is his most recent album. I don't know. I think he was very popular in the 80s, I want to say.
Late 90s.
Late
But
90s?
I think, here's the thing. I only know him as the Gas moniker, the Gas name. But if you look, he's released a lot of music under other names. Maybe not ambient techno, maybe different subgenres of electronic music. So he may well have been popular in the 80s under another name or in another band. But I don't really know. As far as I know, this is the newest album by Gas in 17 years. So quite a while if you're a fan of specifically Gas as this guy.
It's been a while, and this is a fantastic ambient piece.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much I can pick out in terms of like which one is the best song, which one's the worst song, because they're all on a pretty similar quality level, and they all like fit really well together. But there are a couple pieces that I enjoyed much more than others, like Narkopop 6, which is the sixth track, obviously.
Yeah.
Instead of like a very flat bass line like he has in a lot of other ones, he starts off with these eclectic like water droplet kind of sounds, and there's harps in there, and he frames this whole song around some sort of running water, and I thought that was really gorgeous. That's why I like that one more than most of the other ones, even though most of the other ones are still really good.
Yeah. Narkopop 2 and Narkopop 9. I might actually maybe 7. I'm not 100% sure. I think Narkopop 2 probably was my favorite because the rainforest sound effects are, first of all, are a great addition, and here's the thing: the subtle beats are throughout this album are like, sometimes they're really loud, sometimes they're really quiet, but those are like the only aspects that really make this ambient techno, which some people are calling this. Most of the time I just call this ambient, but okay, this is going to sound weird, but sometimes I feel like the beats are almost beyond the realm of my hearing. Like, it sounds as if dogs could hear them really clearly, but they're just beyond the frame of my hearing. Maybe I'm going deaf, but yeah, so this song, Narkopop 2, it comes out full force and really powerful to begin with, and then seems to dissipate and marinate around several times. This is a really beautiful and magical song. It's as if I've like tapped into some secret fairy world, and other times it's like really dark and weird. I'd say this album feels the closest I've come to falling in love with the world of ambient music in my life, and that's a real feat. So
the thing with this record is that the soundscapes for most of them are very ethereal, very almost eerie, kind of like haunting sort of vibes in a lot of these songs. The one song I didn't enjoy was 7, I think. I hope so. And it was less ambient and more techno because there's a lot more things going on. It was more centered on one simple, like, repetitive drumming line. But it was a bit long, and it didn't have as much like interesting components to it, and it was more like repetitive.
Yeah.
And it was more synthetic than the other ones felt. So that was the one song where I wasn't as intrigued, but it still sounded really good. Like, not take anything away from it, it still sounded very good. But some of the other songs, like 2, 6, and I think the 17-minute Bad Boy was fantastic.
Yeah, 7. I thought that was a quite interesting way to make a song, at least, like having the ambient go around the loud drum-centered part, and this feels like the most conventional ambient song on here, if ambient could ever be called conventional, because it's a very interesting and unique way to make music. Like, some people even struggle to call this music, although it definitely is. It's one of the nicer and more life-affirming and enjoyable songs. Like, some of these songs have really dark overtones to them, And it's interesting for me to see which songs you thought were dark and which songs I thought were dark, if they're like different. But I thought 7 had no dark overtones at all. It was completely positive feeling to it.
Nope. Yeah, that was like the one odd one out, I would say. A lot of the other ones had some sort of aspects of darkness. That one is the odd one out.
Yeah, but I liked it because of that. Although, yeah, maybe it was a bit too long. But it's hard to judge, really, in most of these what's too long, because some of them are only 4 minutes, and the longest is like 17.
Yeah, it's a really... I think it's good that they have the varied track lengths, because otherwise it would have gotten really boring with like each song was 4 minutes.
I thought actually Narkopop 8 was the most boring. It's like the one where I feel like the magic has worn off a little bit. I like how these tracks transition from each other, and it's really dark, but I don't know. It just felt like 8 was the point where the magic started to wear off a little bit, but then 9 picks it up again, so maybe that's the odd one out for me.
Well, for me, I liked 8 a lot because the backing drum sample or the backing drum line sounded like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And that was kind of eerie to me. And then he adds I want to say it's organs. He adds some organs or something like that in there. And it just creates this really tense, haunting vibe to it. And I think that he's able to take those. He really does well with haunting vibes, and it just gets you like, it just gets you feeling things. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, got me feeling things, definitely. But Narkopop 4 is another mysterious and dark sounding song. I mean, I don't know at what point people will know this album to know specifically what song we're talking about. Like, obviously there'll be some hardcore Gas fans who listen to this non-stop every day, no matter what. Well, maybe, but there'll definitely be some people who know this album more than us and know specifically what track we're talking about, but some people probably can just listen to this as one, and yeah, we're talking about them in different tracks, because yeah, different things happen in these tracks, but in essence, this could be one track, like Reflection by Brian Eno. Maybe that sustained itself over one recurring theme, but and these like start and stop these songs, but anyway, Narkopop 4, it feels like there's a classical melody in this. I don't know what you felt about that.
Yeah, I would say it wasn't as dreary as some of the other songs. I thought this was a little bit more upbeat than the other ones, but maybe because that's the classical overtones it had.
Yeah, but I felt like I liked how it got buried. Like, there's like some weird analog distortion or something, and like a drone coming in that obscures the melody of the song, which is just like the classical part, which is kind of a melody. It's completely gone and buried by the end, which gives it a really, like I say, dark feeling, atmosphere, because it feels like it's encompassing the positive, upbeat, classical melody, I guess. So that was a really interesting part.
Narkopop 5, they had this repeating drum line in the background. It sounded like people are marching towards you because it got louder over the time.
That felt like the first time some techno was coming into this album.
Yeah. And these string sections were much more melodic and angelic, and I felt like you could have used a song in some sort of like war scene in a movie where it's like the troops are marching along some sort of like beach or whatnot. And I felt like that's where you could have used this song very effectively.
I did feel that. I did get that as well, but I didn't actually note it in my notes because I felt like it was just me. Like, maybe this is like a rhythm that isn't always associated with a marching army band, but it sounds like it is. And the beat actually does change slightly, but not so obviously, like it's really subtle. And I think the ambience of the track changes with how the beat changes, which is really cool. But it's so different from the first 4 songs because of the beat. Like, it's so forward moving. Like, the beat really does propel this album. It makes you feel like the album's going somewhere. Not that the first 4 songs didn't make you think the album wasn't going somewhere, but Narkopop 5, just because of the forward-moving beat, makes it feel like the album's going places, I'd say.
I think
I guess
the
we could
better
talk
way
about
to put that is
Narkopop 6 as well, which is the first time it has some weird guitar picking at the start.
I was gonna say I was gonna say how I think like the way you want to put it is that the first four were very non-linear. You didn't know, like you knew it was gonna go somewhere, but you didn't know where it was gonna go. When you have the repeating drum line, you can kind of like expect it to go in a certain direction and a certain sound, or at least be able to predict what's gonna happen because of that repeating drum line. So it's less, it's more linear, and the other ones are much more non-linear because like you're not sure what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So, Narkopop 10 is 17 minutes long. A big epic track. What did you think of it?
I was actually slightly disappointed by that track because I was hoping there'd be more things going on.
Same.
And it kept building on that same beat, but then like about halfway through, the first half was a bit boring to me. The second half, it built up and added a whole bunch of instrumentals and elements to it, and then at around the 13-minute mark, it just dies completely, and it goes really soft and subtle, which I liked.
Yeah, it like dies completely. There's only like a 3-minute really exciting part to this song, which in 17 minutes is quite a small portion of the song. Like, I was expecting many epic things to happen, similar to how 5 or 7 had a lot of things going on, but you know, the ambience surrounding the beats still really cool. It was a really cool way to construct a song. But then I really do feel like it dissipates and marinates towards the end, which is kind of a nice way to end it. Like, not much is happening. It feels like we've accomplished something and it's, like, fading away. Like, the melody goes away and then comes back quite a few times, which is quite a nice way to end an album. Similar to how Bonobo did it on Migration, I guess.
So, Alex, what would you rate this album?
It's weird because I haven't been speaking too highly positive about it, but I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. This is an exceptionally interesting and enjoyable album. Like, it's really relaxing, meditative in parts, and then really, really weird. Like, some of the moods and emotions it gets from me was so unique and interesting. As maybe 3 of the best ambient pieces I've ever heard in Narkopop 2, 5 and 7, and obviously 10 had its moments as well. It's really consistent, it's not boring. I'm just going to end it by saying, what a great fucking album.
So I'm going to say that this is an 8 out of 10 album for me. I think it's a very fantastic piece of ambient music. I like ambient music. I think it's really, really interesting. I think this is good because he develops these soundscapes over time, and each song flows really well to the next one.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like rush how he builds these soundscapes, because a lot of time what happens in ambient music is that they rush it and it becomes too loud at certain times and it shouldn't be. So I appreciate that aspect to it. There was only a couple songs where I thought that were a bit kind of ruined. Like number 7 kind of ruined the ambient vibe with its more techno based music, and like the more like just structured songwriting. But still, even though that happens, I think this is a really good record, and it has tons of interesting elements to it. There's tons of different instruments that are being played all over and just mixed and intertwined really well. So, 8 out of 10 for me. It's a good piece of art.
We love your gas.
Well, if that's it, then thanks for tuning in to Bus Speakers. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you want us to review a different album, let us know in the comments below, and check us out on social media.